Today I'm behind the wheel of a brand new 2021 Nissan Rogue, and for this year the Rogue gets a complete redesign from the ground up. The outside is a lot more modern, stylish, more masculine looking. Inside, what a difference. This interior cabin is light years better than last generation's cabin. Also, this Rogue gains a lot more standard features, standard safety features, also optional features. And lastly, this Rogue is a bit more powerful. So, just how good is this brand new Rogue, and how does this stack up against the Toyota RAV4 or the Honda CR-V? Well, keep watching and find out. Before I get started, I want to thank Bill K. Nissan in Downers Grove. They made this video possible, so if you're in the market for a brand new or used Nissan, definitely check out this dealership. Their URL is on the screen and in the description of this video. Starting with the outside, the brand new 2021 Nissan Rogue looks nothing like the previous generation. The front end is much more square and upright with a larger V-motion grille in the middle. The lights are unique as the top portion is the LED daytime running light and the LED headlights are actually in the middle of the bumper. All trims receive the LED treatment, but only the upper trims receive the LED fog lights. The side profile reveals a more athletic look with shorter overhangs. On upper trims, you can select a two-tone color. What you see here is the Caspian Blue Metallic with the super black roof. Wheels range from 17-inch with a base S trim to 19-inch seen on this Platinum. And upper trims also receive large aluminum colored roof rails on top. The back of the Rogue is very square with a shark fin antenna and spoiler on top, LED taillights which is standard on all trims, and some silver trim cladding on the bottom bumper. Now as for the liftgate, upper trims like this Platinum does receive foot motion activated liftgate, but I could not activate it at all, even though I followed the instructions. It's just easier to use your hands or use the key fob. Inside there's plenty of cargo room behind the second row. On the left there is a 12V outlet and the second row fold down lever, and there's another lever on the right side. On the bottom, there's the great divide and hide cargo system carried over from the previous generation. There's a dozen ways to utilize these covers and hidden storage. However, it's a little disappointing that this cargo system is only available on the upper trims like the SL and the Platinum. With the second row down and flat, there's plenty of cargo room. And in total, there is close to 3 more cubic feet versus the last generation. Moving to the second row, the doors open a complete 90 degrees for easier access. Inside this Platinum, the seats are covered with beautiful quilted semi-aniline leather. Passengers receive a pair of vents and 2 USB ports, climate controls, heated seats, and sunshades, which you rarely see in a compact SUV. As for space, I'm 5 feet 10 and I have about 3 to 4 inches of legroom and about the same with headroom. The seats no longer slide, but they can recline slightly. Moving up front, the new dash design is stylish and modern and light years better than the previous generation. The leather wrapped steering wheel feels and looks good, and I really like the flat bottom design. Buttons on the right is for voice and phone control, Pro Pilot Assist, and adaptive cruise control functions. Buttons on the left is for music scrolling, volume, and menu selection inside the gauge cluster. Also behind the steering wheel there are paddle shifters. Now speaking of the gauge cluster, look at this 12-inch digital one inside the Platinum trim. It's bright and I love the way the graphics is designed. You can scroll in the middle and see the trip computer, 4-wheel drive info, navigation, music, settings, and more. And under settings, under personal display, you can control what gets displayed inside the left tachometer. On top, there is also a brand new heads-up display, which is the largest in this class. You can control it within the settings menu as well. Buttons to the left of the steering wheel control your power liftgate, some safety features, and there are also memory seats inside this Platinum. Moving to the new 9-inch infotainment screen that you see here, it is class leading, and this touchscreen looks bright and has a very high resolution. You can navigate the system utilizing a row of physical buttons below it and a row of virtual buttons within. Now the home screen has multiple widgets displayed and they are configurable, however there is still some noticeable lag when you're scrolling through the pages. Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are standard on all trims, but the upper trims receive wireless Apple CarPlay, which is a first for this segment. Upper trims also received a 360 view camera system in addition to the rear view camera. Below, the tri-zone climate control is pretty easy to use. There are 2 large knobs for temperature control, a row of buttons for fan speed, rear climate control, modes, and there are buttons for heated seats up front and a heated steering wheel. Surprisingly, this Platinum does not have ventilated seats up front. Below, you have a push button start, 2 USB ports, a 12V outlet, and a wireless charging pad. Next, you have a fancy new shifter that really looks like it belongs in a luxury car. You have to push up for reverse and push down for drive, and you have to remember to press the P button for park. And you have buttons for the parking brake, auto hold, and 2 cup holders. Then you have the new drive mode selector. If your Rogue is equipped with all-wheel drive, then you have off-road and snow modes in addition to the auto, eco, and sport. Below that, you have some space inside the armrest. On top, there is an auto-dimming rear view mirror. If you wanted the HomeLink setup, that's an optional feature you have to tack on. And finally, you do have a giant panoramic sunroof on top. Now, as for the powertrain, the brand new 2021 Rogue uses a 2.5-liter 4-cylinder engine that produces 181 horsepower and 181 pound-feet of torque. This is 11 more horsepower than the last model. This engine is still mated to a CVT transmission, and you can select front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive with this new Rogue. More on how this engine is during the drive. Alright, I'm on the road. Let's see how good this brand new Rogue is and how it drives. In case you didn't know, for many years, the Nissan Rogue was the best-selling compact SUV out there in the United States. Then kind of dropped to number 2 or 3 in the last few years, but still, Nissan sells hundreds of thousands of Rogues per year. So you know, Nissan took this redesign seriously, and I could tell. When I approached this new Rogue, I'm like, wow. The outside is so much better than the last generation. It's so modern and stylish, yet still has that Nissan vibe, right? I've already talked about and showed you guys the outside. Of course, the V-Motion grille is still there, right? You could recognize that right away, but the way the Rogue looks now, you know, being a lot more masculine and square, the proportions actually decrease, but you couldn't tell from the outside. When I first glanced at it, I thought the Rogue actually got bigger, but if you look at like the length and the height actually decreased by a few inches. And once I sat inside, I was even more impressed. This cabin does not look like it belongs in a Nissan, and it does not look like it belongs in a compact SUV. This cabin is really good. Just from the design perspective, from the quality perspective, from the whole layout and functionality, everything, I'm really impressed with this cabin, especially since I'm driving the top and the newest trim level, the Platinum, because everything in here is covered in leather and soft materials, and it's nothing like the previous generation's cabin, which just felt really outdated and really cheap. This one no longer feels like that at all. Now, I've already talked about the 3 different screens in here, right? The class-leading 9-inch screen, which is really bright and functional, easy to use. Unfortunately, there's still a little bit of lag, but it's a big upgrade over the last generation screen. Also, this new 12-inch digital gauge cluster. This is a really good one, and this really doesn't belong in a compact SUV. Right? I mean, you see this in luxury SUVs, or you see this in higher end SUVs, but you don't really see this in a compact SUV, and Nissan nailed it with this. The interface is perfect in terms of how you use it. You're scrolling left or right, very easy to use. The brightness, right? The graphics, everything about this is fantastic, especially when you turn on navigation. You see the navigation instructions there really clearly, right? So you actually see it in 3 different places. So this 12-inch screen is fantastic. And also the heads-up display is really nice too. The only caveat with the heads-up display is it's really big and bright, and you could adjust in many ways in the gauge cluster and the settings. The thing is, when you don't have navigation on, the only thing you see is your miles per hour and speed limit sign, and they're kind of off to the right side. So by itself, it looks a little bit awkward like that. That isn't designed the best. However, when you turn on navigation, that's where things change. In terms of the navigation directions and the size of it, you know, the arrows and everything, I mean, this heads-up display was really designed to display navigation directions. But it's kind of repetitive because you have it in front of your face, you have it down here in the gauge cluster, and you have it in an infotainment screen, so you have it in 3 different places. But still, this stands out right away because in a non-luxury compact SUV, I just don't see the setup. And this is class leading in my opinion. Also, something else I could tell right away is the sound in here, or the lack of it. It's obvious that Nissan spent a lot of time with installation on this new Rogue. This is very, very quiet, much quieter than the last generation, I know that. And even for this segment, absolutely no wind noise, very little from the cars passing by, just slight road noise, but that's about it. What's also nice is how this Rogue accelerates now. This engine, although it's the same displacement, basically the same engine, but obviously it's been tweaked. It offers 11 more horsepower than the last generation. But with that, this Rogue is actually lighter too, about 80-ish pounds. So with the less weight and the more powerful engine, I could tell when I'm just accelerating around town, the pickup is a little better. In a little bit, I'll test out full throttle acceleration, but around town, I do feel like this Rogue moves a little bit faster. And also I could tell this CVT transmission has been tweaked again. You know, Nissan has been tweaking their CVTs for a long time, and this one is near perfect. I know Honda, their CVTs is perfect, and this is pretty much there. I really can't tell that it's a CVT, at least cruising around town. Even when accelerating, right? Low speed accelerating, that usual CVT drone is not there. So that was acceleration from about 20 to 60 miles per hour. Overall, this Rogue is not a quick SUV. But I do feel like it's in line with others in this class, even though, you know, the RAV4 on paper has a bit more horsepower, and same thing with the CR-V, but acceleration wasn't bad. It still felt brisk, let's say. It wasn't slow. It wasn't fast, but it wasn't slow. So I felt like that was actually okay. And the CVT transmission, it simulated the shifts, and it did so pretty well. Not as good as Honda's CVT, but better than before. You know, the loud drone and that whine that you usually hear from the engine and CVT combo, it's been very, very minimalized in here. Okay, as I'm coming to a stop, the Rogue's brakes are predictable, linear, not stiff or mushy, so the brakes feel good. As for visibility and driving position, fantastic. The windshield, nice and big, see well past the hood, no problem seeing what's in front of me. Side windows are very big, very, very big. The side mirrors, I feel like is a tad too close to me for some reason. I just feel like they're a little bit close. But outside of that, visibility, side visibility is really good. Blind spot visibility is fantastic. And on this Platinum trim, you do get blind spot monitoring, so that's not an issue anyways. And the back tailgate window, nice and big. Visibility is great in here. Driving position also, somewhat of an elevated, you know, seating position. A little bit of a commanding view of the road, right? Not as high as a midsize SUV, but you're off the ground, not as low as a sedan. And also what's good are these seats, right? Nissan, you know, they use zero gravity seats. Basically, you know, created by NASA. So Nissan seats are generally very, very comfortable. And that's the same with this new Rogue, right? The cushioning, the positioning, the pressure points are just not there. So it just makes me feel like it's pretty comfortable. It's pretty comfortable. And on this Platinum trim, of course, you have the full quilted leather everywhere, and it just looks so elegant. Again, that's class leading. Quilted leather, you just don't see that on compact SUVs. And you get inside this Nissan Rogue, and it's not just the front seats that are comfortable, it's also the rear seats. The rear seats actually feel very comfortable too. And you know, inside this Rogue, it's still very spacious, even though if you look at the passenger space, it actually decreased a little bit because the roof is a little bit lower and the overall length is a little bit shorter, but still, inside, I don't feel cramped at all. Now, as for steering, the steering wheel feels great. You know, this leather wrap steering wheel feels good, has a good design. I love the flat bottom, right? But as for the feeling, so-so. I feel like it's kind of dull, numb. Like I don't really have a good input coming to me, and also it's not very precise, so there is quite a bit of steering play. Now, as for suspension, it's okay, but it's a tad bumpier than I was expecting. You know, overall, it's not too bad around town, pretty comfortable, but a lot of these imperfections, I do feel it more in the cabin, and it could be because of the larger wheels on this platinum trim. That could be the contributing factor, but it's a tad bumpier than I was expecting. I know others in this class, they definitely felt a little bit softer. Now, all Rogues standard get Nissan Safety Shield 360, which is a suite of safety features, and it actually includes a lot. Even on the base trim, you get emergency braking front and rear, right? Obviously, pedestrian warning, lane warning, blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alert. That's all standard, right? But if you go on the upper trims, Nissan adds a bit more. So, for example, this platinum trim comes with Pro Pilot Assist with navigation, okay? So there is regular Pro Pilot Assist. It'll use the cruise control and the lane centering system to kind of keep you within the lanes and basically drive itself, semi-autonomous driving. But with navigation added in, so it will actually read the speed limit signs and actually can speed up or slow down depending on where you're going. So it's a little bit better, but overall, all Nissan Rogues are very safe because of Safety Shield 360 and its standard. And if you look at the base trim in terms of what you get, it's definitely a lot more safety features than a base trim of a CR-V or RAV4. In addition to the Nissan Safety Shield 360, the 2021 Rogue can also read traffic signs, has front, side, and rear sonar sensors. It can also detect if you're alert and offers intelligent forward collision warning, intelligent blind spot intervention, and intelligent lane intervention. Just reflecting on this new cabin and this dash design, center console area, I mean, this is so different in such a good way. This is so much better than the last generations. I think I mentioned that maybe twice already in this video, but the way it's designed, I mean, everything that you can touch and feel, it's either some kind of soft material or leather. The pop-out screen, right? It's in a really good place where you could see it, you could touch it very easily. The button design is very minimal. Same thing with the climate control. You know, it's designed really well, right? Even underneath where you put your wireless charger, it's not like hidden inside your armrest like what a lot of people are doing. I mean, it's just a really good design. And also the use of aluminum in here around the door handles themselves, on the dash, right, on the steering wheel. I mean, this is a really luxurious and elegant cabin, and it's probably, I would say, the best one in this segment. Now, the CX-5 also has a very elegant cabin, but I do believe this beats it. Now that I've been driving around for a while, I could definitely tell that Nissan spent a considerable amount of time tuning the engine and transmission. I would say more so with the transmission, because I really do feel like this Rogue is very comfortable around town. I really don't feel like it's slow by any means, and in a really gentle and quiet way, the Rogue just gets up to speed without really any effort. Now, there are two questionable things on this new Rogue. Number one is this shifter. Nissan just tried to make a really elegant and fancy shifter that you find within a luxury car, and there's just no need. Even if this was like a push button or something, I think it would be better than this implementation. I do think a lot of people will get confused by this new shifter. Also, since this Platinum has pretty much every single option you could think of, the one thing that is missing is ventilated seats. I'm not sure why that was omitted. Everything else in here, it has, but it doesn't have ventilated seats, which is quite weird to me. Next up, let me talk about trim levels and pricing and give you my final thoughts on this brand new Rogue. As for trim levels, this brand new 2021 Rogue has 4. The base S starts at $25,650. If you want all-wheel drive, the price goes up by $1,400. Next, you have the SV, the SL, and finally the range topping Platinum, which starts at $35,430. Now, the all-wheel drive Platinum is at $36,830. To conclude, the 2021 Nissan Rogue is a fantastic compact SUV that Nissan elevated in a big way. The exterior has a modern and fresh styling, and the interior cabin is functional, luxurious, and filled with all the latest tech, most of which are class exclusive. The digital gauge cluster is fantastic, and so is the wireless Apple CarPlay integration, plus all the other features you find within this Platinum is also pretty good too. The Rogue is also very safe with a standard Safety Shield 360 system, and also the drive is quiet, comfortable, and the engine and transmission combo has been improved vastly for this generation. The bad includes the ride being a bit bumpy, the steering feels numb, and there is less passenger space versus the previous generation. Also, I find features like ventilated seats and HomeLink remote are missing as standard features on this Platinum. Overall, I'm giving the brand new 2021 Nissan Rogue Platinum a score of 101. To learn more about it and to see where it ranks, check out driversonlyrankings.com. Hit the like and subscribe to the channel and check out these other videos.